Hi, I'm Caleb Jones. This is the Alpha Male 2.0 podcast. Here we are once again, freedom-focused lifestyle design for men, dating multiple attractive women with no cheating, no lying, no drama, and also having location-independent, high-income international lifestyle if you want the best, greatest lifestyle a man can possibly achieve in the modern era, a normal man. In the last podcast, I talked about my experiences with my first marriage in a traditional monogamous horrible marriage. And in this podcast, I'm going to teach you or talk about the one big change that I made going from beta male to alpha male 2.0, which immediately eliminated 90 to 95% of all the problems in my woman life. And that is the concept of incentive. What do I mean by that? Women, I should say people, but we're not going to talk about dating men because we're men, so we're going to talk about women. Women will only treat you as nice as they have an incentive to do so when you're in an ongoing relationship, okay? So that means that if she has very little incentive to treat you really nicely, eventually, not immediately, but eventually, she will start treating you less well. Now, eventually could mean in 6 weeks. It could mean in 3 years. It depends on the woman. It depends on the relationship. It depends on you. It depends on lots of factors. But eventually, if she doesn't have the incentive to treat you nicely, she will get, quote, comfortable, and she won't. And this is not a dig against women because you are the same way. Men are different about this, but it's a human thing, not a woman thing. We only treat each other in relationships as well as we have the incentives to do so. So let me give you some simple examples. The people I work with in my companies, my teams, I treat them nicely. Why? Do I treat them nice because I'm a really nice guy? I mean, I'm a pretty nice guy, but that's not why. I have an incentive to treat them nicely. Why? It's called money. If I treat them nicely, I make more money. If I treated them like shit, I would make less money. So I have an incentive to be nice, and they have an incentive to be nice to me. Now, I know that sounds very mercenary and robotic, doesn't sound very romantic, but it's true. Trust me, there are times where people I've worked with, when they got upset about something, would just fly off the handle and say some things to me, but they didn't do that because they knew if they did that, they risked getting paid from me, so they didn't do it. And relationships work the same way. And just because you're in love with someone or married to someone or in a relationship with someone or dating someone, that doesn't change. It works the same fucking way. And it works on steroids when it comes to women dating a man in an ongoing relationship in the modern era. This is because women know they have options. Men don't know this. Most men are beta males. They know or they think incorrectly they don't have options. That's why men get one-itis so often, because they think they don't have any options. I'm with this pretty girl. No other pretty girl will ever fuck me ever again. So I got to do whatever she says because she's so perfect and so amazing. Right? That's the default thought process of men. Women are the opposite. Women know at all times they can snap their fingers, dump you, snap their fingers again, and get another guy probably as good as you, if not better than you. They know this. They always know this. And the only time that starts to wane is when women start getting older. They start getting older and fatter, and they go, okay, I'm not as hot as I used to be, so I can't quite snap my fingers quite as quickly. But that's the only time that starts to change. And in this modern era where older women are starting to look really goddamn good, that's getting like into the 50s. So you might have to wait till a woman's getting well into her 50s before she starts thinking like this, depending on the woman. So that means that in your relationships with women, if you want a happy, pleasant experience, you have to provide incentives for her to want to be happy to you. And I'm bringing this all the way back to the comparison between my first marriage to my monogamous traditional wife that was horrible, to my current marriage to Pink Firefly. We've been married now for 5 years, and it's been absolutely wonderful. And the difference, now there are a lot of differences. Obviously, I'm non-monogamous with Pink Firefly. I'm having sex with other women on a weekly basis, and she's aware of that. So she has an incentive. So let's start with that one. She has an incentive to look good. My first wife was monogamous. She knew I was not having sex with anyone except her. And she knew I wouldn't because I wasn't allowed to. So guess what she did? Every year we were married, she got fatter and fatter and uglier and uglier. And I'm not calling her ugly. She was very, very, very pretty. But when I say ugly, I mean that her hair would start out as blonde, then it got brown. It started out long, then it got short. She was trim and fit, then she got overweight. Why? She had no incentive to stay pretty. My current wife, on the other hand, Pink Firefly, is really hot, and she is now hotter than she was when I first met her about 7-8 years ago. She has bigger and better boobs. She's upgraded them. She has lost weight. She has almost a six-pack now. She has that shape, that kind of that square shape. You can start to see the six-pack where she has that now. She's getting really physically fit. She's really looking good. And one of the reasons for this is she knows I'm with other women on a regular basis. Often these women are much, 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 much younger than her. So she has an incentive to keep her looks going, whereas in a traditional relationship, my first marriage, she had no incentive. Now, let's not cover just looks. Let's talk about being nice. So another key difference between my first wife and my new marriage is that my current wife has signed prenuptial paperwork that says that if we get divorced, if we end our relationship, she gets nothing in terms of my money. In my first marriage, she knew very well that she would get half communal property plus alimony plus child support. She knew all this. So she knew she had me by the balls. And if you are monogamously legally married to a woman in the Western world, she knows the same fucking thing, doesn't she? She's got your balls in her purse, and anytime she wants something, all she has to do is squeeze them and go, oh, okay. Because you don't want to lose your kids. You don't want to lose half your money. You don't want to lose half your investments, half your retirement, you don't want to spend thousands of dollars a month on alimony and child support that if you don't pay, you will literally go to jail, and many men have. Women know this. So that means in a scenario where she knows she can take half your money and destroy your life if there's a divorce, does she have to be nice to you? No. She has much less incentive to be nice to you. Because if she's a bitch, what are you going to do about it? Divorce me and I get half your money? Oh, boo-hoo, you're not going to do that, you big pussy. Or she might think, great, go ahead and do that. Go ahead and divorce me, asshole. I love half your money. A lot of women are secretly hoping their husbands will divorce them. A lot of women have kids and stuff. So there's no incentive to be nice. Pink Firefly, on the other hand, knows if we end our relationship, unless I'm nice about it and voluntarily give her money, I don't have to give her a fucking penny. She knows this. On top of my 5 flag stuff, all my assets, just about all of them, are offshore. So even if she could challenge the prenuptial paperwork, good luck. I teach this stuff. It's rock solid, and she knows that too. She's had her own attorneys, when she first signed it, tell her this. But anyway, even if she were to challenge it, good luck in getting any actual money from me. It's not in the United States. There you go. So I'm very, 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 very protected, and she knows this. So now she has an incentive. If we have trouble in our marriage, she has an incentive to really make it work. Whereas in my first marriage, I could tell toward the end of the marriage, she just didn't give a shit. I mean, she wanted to stay married just for the good of the kids. But other than that, she didn't give a shit. She had no real incentive to keep the marriage going in any harmonious fashion. She had no incentive to do so. My current wife has all kinds of incentives to do so. That is why I said the OLTR marriage is identical to a traditional monogamous marriage. It's the exact same thing with only 2 differences. What are those 2 differences? Number 1, it's non-monogamous. You are allowed to have sex with other women within whatever ground rules you agree to. Other women, whenever you want, with whomever you want, okay? And you don't have to check with her every time. Your sex life belongs to you still, number 1. Number 2, there is some sort of rock solid delineation between your money and her money. If you're legally married, that gets more complicated. If you're not legally married, it's less complicated through cohabitation agreements and separation of finance, all these things, where she knows for a fact that if she ends the relationship, she gets nothing. So that way, the 2 guns, I've talked about this, when a man gets into a traditional monogamous relationship or a traditional live-in relationship with a woman, she has 2 pistols that she puts to the guy's head. One pistol says sex, and one pistol says money. And the first pistol, the sex pistol, yes, pun intended, is you will do what I want or you're not getting any tonight. My wife can't do that. If she says, I'm not fucking you, she knows the very next day I'll just go fuck someone else. She knows this, and I do it, okay? So she cannot use sex as a weapon against me. If you're a monogamous, your monogamous girlfriend you live with or wife, provided you've been together more than a year or 2, she won't do this the first few months. But after a while, you know She'll use that weapon against you whenever the fuck she wants. And it's very successful. It works very well. You better do what I want or you ain't getting any tonight. Okay? Right? And go, oh shit. Okay, I remember those days. I said, never again. So that can never be used against me by any woman ever again, because none of my relationships since 2007, since my conversion to Alpha Male 2.0, have been monogamous. That's one of the horrible things about monogamy, is that a woman completely owns your dick. She owns your body. She controls your sex life, because you're only allowed to have sex with her, but she can say no whenever she wants, which she should be allowed to do, of course. But that means you're fucked, or should I say you're not fucked. You can't give a woman that power over you. That is insanity. You can't do that. So now, unlike my first marriage, my wife has an incentive to have sex with me when I want in a way that we both enjoy. In my first marriage, she had no incentive to have sex with me. She viewed it, like most long-term traditional married wives do, as a chore. It is something she had to do to shut the big dumb husband up. And this is how most people who are in a traditional monogamous living together relationship that's more than a year or two old, this is how the woman views sex. Yes, there are some exceptions, but the exception proves the rule. The woman has sex with the husband or boyfriend to shut him up. She's like, oh God, okay, fine. Because she has no incentive to do anything other than that. Okay? Because it's monogamous, right? I don't have the problem at all in my marriage, ever. Ever. Now, does Pink Firefly ever say no to sex? Of course. She's a female. It happens. But it's unusual. It's rare. Doesn't happen over the 7 or 8 years we've been together. It's not a typical experience. It happens, but it's rare. And often, even when she says no, she'll come back around the next day or two and then say yes on her own. Because she knows, She knows if she stops having sex with me, which she has every right to do, I'm just going to up the FB activity on the side, which is fine. Which I have every right to do as in a relationship of two equals, okay? Monogamy is not a relationship of two equals, because one person's gonna want to have sex more than the other person. Let me say that again and take that to heart. This is a Caleb quote. Monogamy is not a relationship of two equals, because one person always wants more sex than the other. The only way monogamy can be a relationship of two equals is if both people want the equal amount of sex forever. When does that ever happen? Never. Okay? So it is not a relationship of two equals. The person who wants sex least, and statistically that is almost always the woman, has more power. Why would you agree to that? Moron, don't do that. Okay? We don't have that problem. We have a relationship of two equals. Pink Firefly and I are two equals who live together and are experiencing life together because we love each other and we want to, not because one needs power over the other. Now, let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about incentives when you don't live with a woman. I have said before many times that as soon as you move in with a woman, there is a transfer of power, about 70% from the man to the woman. Why is that? Because when you're dating a woman who you don't live with, she knows you can dump her at any time. In other words, she knows that the exit is easy. A lot of beta males are like this too. They know that if they're dating a woman and they don't live with her, the exit is easy, so they try to move in with her as fast as they can so that the odds of her leaving are less. But women really know this, especially when they're in provider hunter mode. They know that when you're dating and you don't live with each other, you can end the relationship with relative ease. When you live with each other, it's difficult to end the relationship, isn't it? It's harder by far. And women know this. And so that's why when women are in provider hunter mode or in hardcore boyfriend mode, they want to move in with you. I mentioned on my last podcast, my first wife she begged me to move in with you. Please, I want to move in with you. Why? Why was she so hot to try to move in with me? Because she knew when she moved in with me, she had her hooks in me. It'd be harder for me to end the relationship. Okay? So there is more incentive for a woman to be nice to you when you don't live with her. This is why I tell men, you should not have any girlfriends until you are 30, and you should not move in with any woman until you're at least 35. Why is that? Because when you move in with a woman, you're introducing a new dynamic where she knows she has more power over you. She has less incentive. When she is dating you as an OLTR or MLTR or FB, and she doesn't live with you, she has much more of an incentive to be nice to you. Many men have experienced the phenomenon where they're dating a woman and she's great, and then they move in together, and all of a sudden, like on a dime, like within a week or two or a month, she's a bitch to him. Why? because she has less incentive to be nice, because she knows she has her hooks in you. You live together. So for you to terminate the relationship would be a big fucking hassle. And women know this about men. Women know that men don't like hassles. Men are like, Men want to get back to equilibrium much faster than women do. Women know this about men. That's why, again, you are changing the incentive model when you move in with a woman. And that's why when you move in with a woman, often they become more bitchy. Double that because you were probably stupid enough to agree to a monogamous live-in relationship. That's double stupid. Now she has no incentive. Now she can do whatever the fuck she wants, and you'll probably just put up with it, won't you? Yes. So you need to think through this in all of your relationships with women. FBs, because this applies to FBs too, in terms of incentives. You want to give your FBs an incentive to be nice to you and to keep seeing you. That's why I talk about things like making women come, making women orgasm every time you have sex when they're FBs or MLTRs. Why? You want an incentive for them to come back to you. You want to create more incentives, right? Being nice to women and listening to them, listening to them talk and things like this. So you want to think about in terms of your FBs, your MLTRs, women you're dating, your OLTR if you have a girlfriend or wife, your wife if you have a wife, hopefully an OLTR wife. You need to think about structuring incentive models to give them incentives, both carrots and sticks. So a stick incentive would be, if you get divorced, you get none of my money, okay? And carrot incentives, whenever you have sex with me, I will make sure to take the time to make you orgasm, okay? You want to have both sets of incentives for them to continue to see you and continue to be nice to you and have a harmonious relationship. Because most guys in traditional monogamous relationships don't do any of this. They take all the incentives that cause women to be nice to them and stay with them, and they throw them out the window. And now the women can do whatever the fuck they want. They can be as bitchy as they like. They can get as fat or ugly as they want. They can do whatever you want. And they know you'll probably just deal with it because you're a beta with no incentives and you're monogamous and all these other things. Women know this stuff. Women know that men don't like to break up. Women know this. That's why 3/4 of all girlfriend-boyfriend relationships are terminated by the female, and why 70 to 80% of all divorces are filed by the female. Women know this. So just be aware constantly. What are the incentives I'm providing these women to keep them, A, being nice to me or sexual with me, okay? I think you should have both. And B, staying with me, because women have options. The younger they are, the prettier they are, the more options they have, right? So what incentives do I have installed into my relationship structures to keep these women around a long time and in a happy way with me? Happy and sexual way with me. If you follow the cardinal rules that I talk about, that installs a lot of those incentives in there. If you follow alpha male 2.0 relationship models, that's kind of what this does. Just be aware of this. That's the key difference between the alpha male 2.0 and the monogamous alpha male 1.0 or beta male. They ruin their incentives. The alpha male 2.0 maintains incentives forever. I will maintain these incentives with my wife, Pink Firefly, forever, with all my FBs forever. I will never not have many incentives for them to behave nicely with me, sexual with me, and stay with me. Now, lastly, before I wrap this up, does that guarantee women will never leave you? No. Pink Firefly could divorce me tomorrow morning. It could happen, okay? No, women are biologically wired to leave men. So I'm not guaranteeing a thing. I'm saying your odds are much better in terms of when they leave or if they leave. And if you follow OLTR models, when they leave, the damage is much less when they leave. It covers you both ways. Cool? Cool. All right. Hope that helps. Have fun. I'll see you next podcast. Bye.